this morning, we're talking about when you love yourself and when you hate yourself, you get different rewards for doing these things. And we all tend to do this. We're either on one side of the spectrum or the other. It's really hard, and I would argue impossible to do both. You become better for not only you, but the people you love and care about most. You gotta be a little uncomfortable and take that leap of faith. You're in control of the process. I'm here with you. If we don't continue to grow, if we don't continue to move on, we will be sad and upset. So I want to come on here today and talk a little bit about self-love, how you can love yourself a little bit more today. So loving yourself versus hating yourself. What's the deal? How can we love yourself more and hate ourselves less? I think the word hate's a little bit extreme. So if we're even having that in our language at all, we should probably try and throw it out the best that we can. I think the words that we say have weight. So maybe this day, even if you're talking about you're just a little kinder, you're a little more compassionate with yourself, I think you can get closer to this self-love idea. So let's go ahead and go right through these. I got 5 for each. So let's go ahead and talk about the rewards that we get for each loving yourself and hating yourself, and seeing if these make sense to you, if they ring a bell, and if we can just avoid them and do a little bit better job of being kinder to ourselves. These are essentially rewards that you get when you hate yourself. So if you hate yourself and you don't love yourself fully, you're always going to have an excuse. People who do not love themselves fully always have an excuse. I can't do it right now. Got this going on. I'm my health, my wealth, my relationships, second place. Always have an excuse. Oh, I just couldn't control myself. Didn't know. So this is what tends to happen. And this is just from doing a lot of research and studying, talking to clients and working on myself. When you don't love yourself, you always tend to come up with an excuse. So that's your first reward. Second, you avoid all risks. When you don't love yourself and you don't believe you're worthy, you tend to avoid risks. You're like, what's the point? Why would I do that? That's too hard. Can't do that. So you tend to avoid all risks when you know truly that life is a risk. Every time you get in a vehicle, it is a risk. Every time you invest money, every time you try to go after a new idea, it's a risk to not do anything at all. So it's all a risk, but I think people who hate themselves tend to avoid all risks, and then they stay in place. They don't have to get out of their comfort zone, even though it's making them extremely uncomfortable. It's just the unknown. So you'll tend to see, if you hate yourself, if you don't love yourself fully, you will avoid all risks. And life's too short not to take risks towards the things that you want to do. Next up is for number 3 on rewards that you get for hating yourself over here is use up your present moments with mini depressions. And I say mini depressions. This is actually from Dr. Wayne Dyer, one of his books. He's an absolute legend. My mom actually got me a copy of this cool book called The Erroneous Zone. He looks like a serial killer on the front. Sorry, Wayne Dyer, but you kind of do, buddy. But your writing is incredible. So I thank you for that. And you've taught me a lot already, and I really, really do appreciate it. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, he's absolutely incredible. Mini depressions. These are the things, it relates to my brain a little bit better when I talk about catastrophizing, when someone's like, they have a small problem and they make it a big problem to the point to where they're having like a meltdown. Or when you're thinking of things that are not going right in your life and you just keep hammering that thought. When you have self-love and self-compassion for yourself, you understand that you are not your thoughts, and thoughts, like cars on a highway, they come and they go. And there's a lot of them that we can't control. But what happens when you hate yourself, you embody these negative thoughts, you live through these negative thoughts, and you literally turn them into mini depressions. People will just be depressed all day long, throwing their day away, throwing their time away, throwing their resources away, throwing their energy away. The only things that we truly have And then we just suffer deeply in the present moment because we can't get off that thought. We can't quit thinking about that. So be very careful of this. If you hate yourself, you're probably going to have a lot of mini depressions, and it's going to be pretty much impossible to live in the present moment, which is, you can argue, all you really got. All you got is now. Thanks for teaching us, Eckhart Tolle. You're the man. Absolutely love you with all my heart. Next, make others more significant than you. I truly believe that the greatest gift that you could ever give to the world is to make yourself the best version of you, to be able to be in a position to where you can give, where you can support, where you can become better. Because the only evidence of life is growth. If you look at anything under a microscope and it is not growing, it is dying. We've learned that from Tony Robbins. Even Dr. Wayne Dyer has references to this. If you are not growing, you are dying. And the only way to truly grow is to be selfish. And it turns out being selfish is actually really good when you're focusing on your health, when you're focusing on your relationships, when you're focusing on your wealth. This is the opportunity to make you a better you. And a common trait that you see in people who hate themselves, who don't really love themselves, they always make everyone else a priority. Well, I would work on myself, but I got to go work on little Timmy. I got to go talk to Sarah. I got to go do this for this person. I got to go do that for that person. Always making everyone else more important so they can what? They can always have that excuse in their back pocket so they don't have to do hard work. They don't have to work on themselves. So watch out for this. If you're doing this all the time, always making everyone more significant, always making more significant, you got to be careful because this could cause you to hate yourself. And lastly, number 5, the reward that you get, here you go, when you hate yourself, unable to take charge of your life. Unable to take charge in your life. And I think everyone runs into little skits and spurts where you just need some rest. You need to calm down and relax. But I think it gets too far out of control. When you look over the last couple months, what are the projects that you're working on? How are you bettering yourself? What are you aiming for? What do you really want for your life? Why do you want it? Without the questions and without the answers to these questions, I think it makes it really hard to take charge of your life. And it's a very common thing when people hate themselves. They don't believe they're good enough. They don't think this is good enough. They don't think they look good enough. They don't think they're tall enough. They don't think they're athletic enough. They don't think they're thin enough. All of these things of not being enough. And then it turns into this negative self-talk, those mini depressions I was talking about. And you're immobilized. You cannot take action. And you notice that people who hate themselves, or I've noticed people who don't truly love themselves, I think is a better way to put it, are unable to take charge of their life. So be very careful of this. If you see yourself and you're unable to take charge of your life, chances are we could use some more love and compassion for ourselves. And we'll talk about at the very end of how to do. So stick around to the end because we're going to be talking about how to love yourself on a higher level. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. That first part of the show was a little sad, but I think we needed to lay it on there to kind of show ourselves. So just a quick little recap. So rewards for hating yourself. You always have an excuse. You avoid all risks. You use up the present moment with many depressions. You make everyone else more significant than yourself, and you're unable to take charge of your life. That's what you get when you hate yourself. So we don't want to do that. Now let's talk about the rewards for loving yourself. So Tanner, it's like, okay, I need to not hate myself and I want to love myself. What are the pros of that? I'm so glad you asked. So what are some rewards for loving ourselves? I would say you can actually receive and give love. I've heard before multiple times from multiple people who I look up to and am inspired by, you can't give what you don't have. It's pretty much impossible to love others when you don't love yourself. It's a hollow type of love. It's a shallow type of love. And it always turns into something big and some type of catastrophe a decade down the road. However long you can hold those emotional beach balls underwater before they blow up and then it's out of control on you. So you can receive and give love. And love is the most powerful thing on the planet. I think if you asked if you took a questionnaire and you gave a lot of people a question, you said, what's the most powerful thing on the planet? And you listed off a bunch of things and you had love on there. I think a lot of people would circle the answer love. I know I would. I think love is probably the most powerful feeling and emotion that a human can possess. And look at all other types of creatures who can love as well. It's pretty incredible. So your benefits are the reward that you would get for loving yourself is that you can receive it, and receiving love from another individual, another partner, a family member, a friend or something is, I mean, you can look back on your life and see how amazing that truly is. It can completely change how you are. And so the first one I wanted to put on there, rewards for loving yourself, you can receive and you can give love, and receiving and giving love seems to be the bee's knees, the absolute best feelings I've been able to have. So next is accept yourself without complaint. When you love yourself, and this is a selfish one because this is something I do all the time, and I bet you do too, is that when you truly love yourself, you don't need to, when you get a compliment, you don't need to be like, well, I guess I got lucky, or, oh, well, she did all the work. Well, and kind of go back to that excuse where it's kind of shallow because you don't truly love yourself, and you can accept yourself without complaint. You don't complain about how tall you are. You don't complain about your eye color. You don't complain about your hair color. You don't complain about your weight. You don't complain about anything. Complaining is not helpful. And I'm trying to wean back on this a little myself. I think there's a level where you can I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. Like it's not so much complaining all the time and just kind of, reducing the complaining all the time, but you still can communicate how you feel to other people. So trying to find the line, but I think you're smart enough to realize what is complaining and what is communicating with someone who you love. Letting them know what's up. I don't feel very good today. I need some help. I need some rest, or vice versa. Just complaining about the world, the sky not being blue enough, or how rocky the waters are, et cetera, et cetera. So accept yourself without complaint is one of the most beautiful things humans can do for themselves. And that comes when you love yourself, self-love. Next up is this is another reward for loving yourself, is you can love yourself at all times. You have full access to it all the time, nonstop. This isn't like your iPhone. It doesn't run out of juice. It doesn't run out of battery or go bad after a couple of years. You get to keep this, and you get to love yourself as much as you want. When you have self-love, then you don't need the love of others, because your self-worth is not tied to the opinion of others. And we're going to be talking about worrying about the opinions of others here later this week. This is something I've been really trying to work on. I think we all need to work on. But loving yourself at all times, it's available to you, so we can try and use it. And when you love yourself, you have access to the most powerful feeling in the world at all times. So if anything this morning, if you do try to give yourself some more self-love, remember that, wow, life's not that serious, and I feel pretty good right now. On to the next one. You can live in the present moment. When you love yourself, you can surrender and you can accept what is going on, and you can live in the present moment. As we've talked about from the other section, this is all we got, and you might as well enjoy it. What kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live in a moment in the present where you're always worried about something in the future? You're always regretting about something in the past? How can we live in the present moment? I think we can do this by having more self-love, living in the present moment. And lastly, kind of the opposite of the other one, is people who love themselves take action on what they want. Take action on what we want. We were just talking about how if you are not growing, you are dying. You are literally dying. You can look under a microscope. You can take it to the lab. You are dying. If you are not growing, you are dying. So we can see that, and I think we can embody that as us as individuals, as our personalities, as our traits, even from skills to just how we view ourselves. Taking action on what you want in life is I believe, what we ultimately want to do. And it's really hard, if not impossible, to do that if you don't love yourself. So if anything, if you want to take action, if you want to achieve your goals, you got to learn to love yourself. And it's like, okay, Tanner, that's great. These were great rewards. So, a quick little recap: rewards for loving yourself. This is what you're going to get when you love yourself. You're going to be able to receive love, which is awesome, and you're going to be able to give love, even better. Next, you're going to be able to accept yourself without complaint, making all these excuses and all these just a bunch of bull crap stuff, made up stories about yourself and how you're not good enough. We can get rid of those when you love yourself. You can love yourself all the time. Absolutely. You have access to the fountain of awesomeness 24/7. Pretty cool. You can live in the present moment. You can actually live your life. If you're not living in the present moment, I would argue you're missing out. You're literally missing the chances that you have. And we know that life isn't that long. We're just not here that long. And that's just one of the cons of being human right now. And so, but we need that. I think it's helpful because it helps us realize and take action. Last one, when you love yourself, you can take action on what you want to do with your life. So if you want to take action, you want to live in the present moment, you want to have access to all this, you got to learn how to love yourself. And a quick little thing, as we wrap up today's show, how to love yourself. So how do you love yourself? I would say you need to accept yourself fully for what you look like, how you feel on the inside, the genetics that you possess, the family that you have, the friends. Accept everything about the world, everything about your experience. So when you woke up this morning and the lights turned on, consciousness kicked back on, fully accept everything for what it is. Thank Eckhart Tolle for that. Complete acceptance and surrender, and pretty much the same thing, right? Surrendering to what it is, surrendering to who you are, surrendering to how the world works, surrendering to it, and then letting go. Accept, surrender, and let go. Sorry, my computer blacked out there for a second. We're all good to go. So accept, surrender, and let go of the things that we're holding on to. I think so much of our suffering, I know personally, I've suffered so much in my life, in my imagination, because I couldn't let go of bullshit that absolutely did not matter. And so hopefully this morning, our message can kind of hit home with you. If you have something come in, let it go. Cars on a highway, they come and they go. Cars on a highway, they come and then they go. So our thoughts, we let them go. We don't hold on to them, especially like these comments from maybe negative people or this belief. I want to do a show on, it's called The Ghost of They, where you have one interaction with somebody and then you label this all or nothing thinking to an entire race, entire demographic, entire situation. You make one sales call, they call you an idiot and a piece of crap, and then you're like, oh, they all hate me, yada yada, when you talk to like one person. And I've done this so much, and I really want to start letting go of this stuff as it comes in. So hopefully you can do this as yourself, for yourself. You can learn to love yourself by accepting yourself, surrendering to what is, and letting go of things that just aren't in your control. They're like, okay, your thoughts are in your control. Because when they come in, you just let them go and you get better at it over time. I promise, with some discipline, some meditation, and some support from like a coach, a therapist, some good friends, you can really learn to build that muscle as you start raising awareness. If you really start to see and recognize what is happening and what you're doing, I think we can get better and better at just letting go of the stuff that doesn't matter so we can enjoy more of the present moment and fully love ourselves. And when we love ourselves, then we can love others as well. And that's the ultimate feeling we're all trying to chase. So, thanks for checking out our content. If you want to learn more about investing in yourselves and working with me and our company personally, we offer a 6-week Total Life Mastery Bootcamp where we go over the most important topics to make sure that our life has the foundation we need to catapult us forward to take the right and proper actions to become happier and more productive, guaranteed, or our money back.